Welcome to No Silver Spoons, the podcast that tells it like it is when it comes to leadership, business, and building something real. Now in its third season, this show is hosted by Beth, a 5-time CEO who's built 5 personal brands, making over 8 figures while staying for the communities she served. Why no silver spoons? Because in leadership, no one hands you success on a platter. There's no shortcut, no easy pass, and definitely no silver spoon. It takes grit, intentionality, and showing up as the core version of you. This podcast is about what happens when you put in the work and take ownership of your path. When you decide to build it step by step, no excuses. Every week, you'll get tools, stories, and fresh perspectives to keep you moving toward the results you want. You'll walk away with clarity and focus on what actually moves the needle without the fluff. And with Beth's sharp insight, infectious energy, and no-nonsense approach, you'll remember why you're here: to lead, to grow, and to make it happen. So buckle up. This isn't just another podcast. This is No Silver Spoons. Let's get to work. Now, here's your host, Beth Herman.
Sometimes I literally just get a hunch and I want to just record an episode. So I quickly scrambled through, wrote this because it was all on the top of my mind. And so here we go. We're recording an episode. I didn't really care what I wore today or how my hair was done. We're just chatting today. So I want to talk about leadership without privilege. You know, leadership isn't about titles, privilege, or even the resources that you start with. It's about showing up, creating solutions, and leading even when the odds are actually stacked against you. And this episode of No Silver Spoons is all about how you build resilient teams, how to actually inspire that innovation, navigate the challenges, and learn to lead with actual purpose, even when your resources are limited. I think we struggle with that as leaders. And for me, resilience isn't tied to one defining moment in my life or even one person. For me, it's been the culmination of many experiences and lessons. And it's all the small wins I've had, the failures I've had, and the moments of clarity that combine to actually shape how I lead and why I do what I do. So today, I just wanted to come on here and share some stories, some lessons, and some advice that I have actually learned along the way so that you can do the same thing for your team. And I want you to be able to do that knowing that you have a partner in this. And I'm talking directly to you today. So let's talk. What does resilience in teams actually look like? What does it actually look like? Resilience is more than just that bouncing back. You know, when you think of resilience, so you bounce back quickly. It's more than that. It's about learning to thrive through challenges, innovating when the answers aren't actually obvious, and building a mindset that actually refuses to quit. I've seen this in my personal life and in the teams that I've had the privilege to lead. And so when I think about resilience, I think a lot about my mom. And she's not here anymore. She passed a few years back, but she was a single mom for some of my upbringing, and she also was married at certain points in my upbringing. But my mom was always someone who carried multiple jobs. And it wasn't just carrying the job of being a mom and then working somewhere else. Those were standard things. It was 3 jobs and raising kids. If we didn't have enough money for bills, she would make sure she had another job on the side making that money. Somehow she'd still have time to stay up late helping with school projects or crafts for the holidays. I remember her making meals for other families when we barely had food ourselves. She modeled resilience for me in every way, and those lessons shaped me. My childhood is filled with a million different stories of ways she demonstrated resilience, and I didn't even know that's what she was doing, and maybe she didn't know that's what she was doing. But it wasn't just my mom. It was also the collection of challenges that I faced in my life. It was the moments when I didn't have the resources or the answers, but I still learned to find a way through. You know, resilience is what happens when you refuse to let adversity define you. So how as a leader do we foster resilience? How do we do that? I think that building resilience in a team is about fostering a mindset of innovation, of that adaptability, of that trust. And here's how I've learned to approach it in my own leadership styles. One, I think that you have to actually model resilience. You can't just talk about it. You have to be about it. You have to show it and demonstrate it. Your team takes their cues from you. If you panic, they panic. If you persevere, they find strength in that. When I face challenges, I make it a point to be transparent. Not to just offload the stress, but to show that struggling is okay as long as we keep moving forward. I can't quit now, but you need to know I'm struggling and it's okay to be vulnerable there. Two, I encourage creative problem solving. One of my teams was dealing with incredibly long wait times on phone lines. We handle phones for dental practices and businesses all over the United States. And instead of complaining, they discovered that using a Spanish-speaking line dramatically reduced our hold times. This wasn't a solution I handed to them. They found it by thinking creatively. That's resilience in action. We went from 30 to 45-minute hold times to 2 to 3 minutes because we figured out how to call different lines for different languages. So we completely transformed our entire phones team for that department so we could take advantage of the Spanish-speaking lines. 3, we teach a solutions-first mindset. I had a leader once tell me, if you bring me a problem, also bring me 2 solutions, one that costs money and one that doesn't. At first, I thought that was rude, but now I've adopted that same philosophy with my teams. Sometimes we don't have the resources to throw money at a problem, but we always have resourcefulness to find another way. And that's what your team has to see in you. That's what they have to hear in you. That's the pattern of behavior you have to demonstrate and get them to align with. 4, I celebrate small wins. We've all heard that line said before, but really, how are we doing it? Resilience grows when teams feel their efforts are valued, point blank. Whether it's solving a problem, meeting a deadline, or finding a creative solution, you've got to acknowledge small wins. That keeps your morale high and it reminds your team that they are capable. Number 5, I trust through consistency, and I continue to build on it. I've learned that teams thrive when they know their leader has their back. Trust allows them to take risks and make bold decisions, knowing that even if they fail, they won't face blame, but instead they'll find support in me. My team has to know I'm here no matter what, and that nothing is ever broken beyond repair. So take the risk, move forward, get it done. Number 5, the role of innovation and resilience. The role of innovation and resilience. Constraints often lead to the greatest, and I've learned over time that constraints often lead to the greatest innovations. When you don't have endless resources, you learn to think differently. Honestly, you really do. When you're faced with a challenge, you can't stop at, this just won't work. Instead, you have to learn to ask, what's another way? As a leader, you've got to learn to train your team to approach obstacles with curiosity. This mindset shift, it opens the door to solutions you might have never actually considered. Here's something you can do with your team this week to start building that resilience. I want you to run a brainstorming session, and not just any brainstorming session, but I want you to think before you actually put this into play. I want you to find a current challenge your team is facing. Whatever the challenge is, just name whatever it is, the biggest one, the smallest one, anything. I want you to bring your team all together and ask each person to come up with one solution that costs money and one that doesn't. Discuss and evaluate the best path forward. And while you're doing that, I want you to remember to recognize and celebrate effort. Take 5 minutes in your team meeting to highlight the wins, the creative solutions, what you guys are working through. Just 5 minutes. Honor your team, even if you don't use the ideas, even if the solution wasn't the best solution. Take a minute. Honor your team. Create a resilience mantra. As a team, come up with a phrase or a motto that reminds everyone to keep pushing forward. Something as simple as, "There's always another way." Just saying that can shift your mindset through tough moments. My team, we used to say at the very beginning of my largest company, we used to say, "We just have to get through this month. We just have to get through this month." And so we didn't start off saying, in my largest company, the first one that I started, we used to have this mantra where we would say, "We just have to get through May," or "We just have to get through July. We just have to get through April." Whatever the month was, we just have to get through it. And finally, we just realized that was our mantra, to say, just fight really hard because we just have to get to the end of the month. We don't have to complete the year. It's not that serious. We just have to get through right now. Find one that works for you guys. Resilience isn't about having a perfect plan or all the resources. It's just about finding a way, even if it feels impossible. Early in my leadership, I would have some of my team members approach me and they would say, "Sarah Beth, you always disagree with me. Whenever I have a concern, you always disagree. You're never on my side." But what I had to learn to teach them, and I had to learn to articulate and express out properly, was that it's not that I don't trust them or don't agree with them or I'm not on their side. It's that I'm always thinking about every vantage point. Every vantage point. What's happening over there? What's happening over there? What's going to happen 10 steps from now? What is going on around me that I need to consider before I make this decision? I learned in leadership that you have to be willing to go above, below, over, around, right, left, through the middle, however, to get a result. And so sometimes your team might come to you and what they say doesn't make sense. Don't disagree with them, but just explain that you're trying to see all vantage points. You're trying to make sure that this is the best way forward, the best foot forward, and you're here to support and help them in that journey. When you take a minute to consider all vantage points, at first it might feel like, man, we're just never in sync. We're not on the same page. But over time, your team will learn to see from multiple avenues, not just the way that looks forward. I think in leadership, some things that we don't consider, I think it's easy when you have a small business or when you start working for a network marketing company, you talk about your whys. Whenever I hear people talk about that, I have a hard time because for me, my why of leadership is never tied to one moment or just one thing. It's always a combination of everything. It's the letters I get from clients saying my team helped them become profitable for the first time in 10 years. It's the message about how someone became debt-free because they've worked for me for long enough to pay off their student loans. It's the moments when my team feels appreciated and proud of the work they're doing. It's when my clients ask for one of my employees' addresses so they can send them flowers for their birthday. It's when we uncover that embezzlement has been happening in one of our clients' books, and we find a problem and we create a solution. Every little moment of my world, all of them, they add up. It's not just one thing as to why I keep doing this, why I'm even on this podcast. It's not just one. It's all the little moments that lead to right now. It's the call I took last week that said, I've been listening to your podcast for 6 months, and I finally got up the courage to schedule a call. I just want to chat with you. I think you could really help my business out. That's why I keep doing it. That's why I'll keep showing up all the time. I guess not worrying if my hair is done or if I have the perfect outfit on. But I'm here for you. I'm here for you because I want to be here, because I want to do this with you, because I want to encourage you that there's no silver spoon in leadership. There's no privilege in leadership. It's just a combination of a lot of different moments that are leading you to right here to make better decisions for a more cohesive team. So it's time for our That's Good moment. So what's the takeaway? Our That's Good moment, if you're new to this episode, if you're new to this podcast, our That's Good moment is the time that we bring it all together, where I tell you what you actually need to take away from this episode. Resilience isn't a gift. It's a choice. It's built over time, through experiences, through challenges, and a mindset that literally refuses to quit. As a leader, your role is to model resilience. Your role is to create that sense of creativity in your team, to remind them that there is always another way. You can push through. You can be relentless in that pursuit. If you're overwhelmed right now, I challenge you to look at your situation and ask, what's above, what's below, around, or through? There's always a way forward. You just have to find it. You just have to find the path, the right answer. It's there. You just might have to turn around, flip over, crawl, jump. Thank you for joining me on this episode of No Silver Spoons. I hope it's inspired you to rethink how you approach challenges and lead your team with resilience. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend or a colleague who needs encouragement today. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram. You can find me at nosilverspoons_podcast for more content and some behind the scenes. And remember, leadership isn't about the resources that you have. It's about how you use what you've got to build something great. Keep the grit, stay the course, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us in another episode of No Silver Spoons, powered by Dentistry Support. Remember, success doesn't come with shortcuts, and leadership doesn't come with a silver spoon. It's built on hard work, intentional action, and the decision you make every day to keep moving forward. If you're ready to connect or join the conversation, text us using the link in the show notes or visit sarahbethherman.com for more. And while you're there, don't miss our digital library, packed with tools to help you keep growing and leading with purpose. Keep showing up, keep doing the work, and know this, you've got everything it takes. We'll see you next time on No Silver Spoons.